What if I told you are not just visiting the Mars planet but born there? Not in a spaceship, not in a temporary base, but in a real city. A place with homes, schools, farms, factories, and people who have never seen the Earth with their own eyes. That sounds like a science fiction, but the truth is, the first city on Mars planet is not just a dream. The plans are already being imagined, tested, and shaped by space agencies and engineers today. And there is a reason why this matters. Earth is beautiful, but it is not guaranteed forever. If we want humanity to survive across centuries, maybe even thousands of years, we need a plan B. Choosing Mars planet is not about escaping from the Earth. It is about learning how to live beyond it. So the real question is not about the Mars planet is hard. The real question is, how do you build a city on a world that does not want you there? Chapter 1. Building underground. The first problem on Mars planet is simple to say but brutal to solve. There is radiation, there is freezing cold, and there is almost no protection from the outside world. On Earth, we live under a blanket of air and a magnetic shield, but on the Mars planet, that shield is missing. So the city cannot just sit out in the open like a town on the blue sky day. It has to be hid. That is why the smartest idea is to build a city under the surface. One option is lava tubes. These are giant natural tunnels left behind by ancient volcanic flows. On Mars planet, they could become ready-made shelters protected from radiation and temperature swings. Another option is to build with the planet itself. 3D printers could use Mars soil to create thick protective shells around the homes. That means the city would not arrive fully built from the Earth. It would grow there layer by layer using the ground under it. And here is a fun twist. A Mars year is almost 687 Earth days long. So if you were born on the Mars, your birthday would come around much more slowly. Imagine being a kid and only getting one birthday partly every nearly 2 Earth years. That alone would change how people think about the time. On Mars planet, even the calendar would feel different. The city would begin as a shell, then a tunnel, and then a neighborhood. It would not rise upward first, it would dig inward. Chapter 2. Oxygen and water. A city cannot live on walls alone. It needs air, it needs water, it needs food. And Mars planet makes every one of those things as a fight. The good news is that Mars planet has a carbon dioxide in its atmosphere. With the right systems, that gas can be turned into oxygen. That means the city would not depend only on the tanks shipped from the Earth. It could make part of its own air. Water is the next giant challenge. Luckily, there is ice under the Mars surface. If humans can mine that ice, melt it, clean it, and recycle it, then the city can support drinking, farming, and hygiene. Water would become one of the most precious things in the entire settlement. Food would come from hydroponic towers, tall indoor farms where the plants grow without the soil. Instead of open fields, the city would have layered rows of green life inside the sealed buildings. Leafy greens, tomatoes, beans, maybe even fruit, all grown under the controlled lights. A Mars city would have to be a closed loop system. That means air, water, and nutrients would move in circles. Human waste would not be thrown away. It would be cleaned, broken down, and reused. Every drop and every scrap would matter. On Mars planet, waste is not a waste. It is a resource waiting for the next cycle. That is what survival looks like on a planet where nothing is easy. Chapter 3. Living on Mars. Now comes the part that matters most. A city is not just about machines. A city is about people. So what happens to humans after years on Mars? Mars planet has only about 38% of Earth gravity. That changes everything. Bones would grow weaker. Muscles would get smaller. Bodies could become taller and thinner over time. Life on Mars planet would not just change how we live. It would change what we become. Children born there might adapt differently from the people who arrived from the Earth. They might move differently, grow differently, and even see the world differently. And then there is culture. Would Mars planet develop its own language, its own slang, its own laws, and its own ideas of home? On Earth, nations formed around the land, borders, and history. On Mars planet, a society might form around the survival, cooperation, and the shared understanding that every life depends on the system working perfectly. That could create something beautiful or something delicate. Because in an isolated place, even a small mistake can become a major crisis. One broken water line, one failed air system, one long dust storm can suddenly affect an entire city under the pressure. That is why the Mars planet will not be taken over by the bravery alone. It will be won by discipline, patience, and systems that never stop working. And yes, there is one more threat that can reset the whole dream in a heartbeat. Dust storms. Dust storms on Mars planet can cover huge areas and last for weeks or even months. They can block the sunlight, lower power, and turn the surface into the harsh blur of red dust and silence. That is the moment when the fantasy ends and the survival story begins. Because a Mars city is not just just a place to live, it is a machine for staying alive. Building a city is the final goal, but every city begins with the first step. First the home, then a base, then a colony, then maybe one day a real home. And one of the most exciting roadmaps for that future is not coming from the biggest voice in the space. It is coming from a place known for doing more with the less. I have already posted a deep dive video into a very specific mission profile, and it shows how India's space roadmap could play a major role in keeping humans alive on Mars planet. Because the real challenge is not just getting into the Mars, it is making Mars livable. And that next story goes deeper into the engineering, the strategy, and the kind of smart and careful thinking that could change the entire game. If you have ever wondered how a nation can turn smart design into the survival technology, that upcoming breakdown will matter. It is not just about reaching the Mars, it is about making the red planet work. The conclusion: Mars is not a destination, it is our next chapter. Not because Earth is finished, but because human life has always moved forward by facing impossible places and making them livable. First the oceans, then the deserts, then the mountains, then the sky, now maybe the Mars. So if someone offered you a one-way ticket to a self-sustaining city on Mars planet today, would you take it? A city with no blue sky, no trees, no oceans, but it is our future. Tell me in the comment section below. Hit a like to this video, share this video with your fellow space lovers, and don't forget to subscribe to Galaxora and turn on notifications, because the universe is still full of worlds waiting to be lived in.